During the war, classic airborne assault troops change their combat tactics and turn into techno-landing troops. One of the leaders in modernization is the 25th Separate Airborne Sysheslav Brigade. Modern technological solutions, air and ground drones, allow the 25th Brigade to conduct successful operations and hold positions in the extremely difficult Pokrovsky direction. A video report from the positions of the techno-landing force is published by Ukrainian Pravda. The airborne assault forces have become world leaders in the use of small UAVs in their operations, and the 25th Brigade was one of the first in the airborne assault forces to create a company of unmanned systems. Subsequently, the Sysheslav residents came to a unique solution. The brigade actually launched its own electronic production. There is a laboratory and mobile repair shops that improve drones, adapt civilian drones to combat conditions, and create special drones for paratroopers with increased range and enhanced protection from enemy electronic warfare. We are moving towards minimizing human losses and the use of human resources and transferring absolutely everything to robotic systems. Ground drones, conventional drones, commercial drones, reconnaissance aircraft. That is, to switch to robotic systems as much as possible in order to reduce losses. That is why the techno-landing force, he said. Andrei Timoshchuk, platoon leader of the mobile workshop of UAV complexes of the 25th Brigade. The 25th Brigade is one of the most combat-ready today, both due to its experience and the active use of the latest technology. The Sysheslavites went through the hell of 22, participated in the liberation of the Kharkov region, and have been holding the enemy near Pokrovsk for over a year. We came here in March 2024. At that time, it was still the Avdiivka direction. It was very difficult. There were constant assaults with equipment. Every day, columns of tanks, armored personnel carriers, and infantry fighting vehicles were driving. Now that they have seen that they are not getting anywhere with equipment, they have switched to small group tactics. They constantly come in pairs, threes, try to gather in some place, and carry out assault operations, said the commander of the self-propelled artillery battery of the 25th Brigade, call sign Dark. It was precisely such small groups that Sergei's battalion destroyed while journalists were in their positions. In one drone flight, -11 Russians along with their motorcycles and buggies. Sergei participated in the liberation of Kotlino, a key tactical victory for Ukrainian troops this year. Then, the Sysheslav ground drones came in handy. With their help, they even managed to take 2 elderly civilian women out of the destroyed village from under the enemy's nose. In our direction, the Russians are standing in the same place where they were 6 months ago. We are not letting them pass. It is difficult. We are suffering losses. This is war. These losses must be kept to a minimum, says Sergei, battalion commander of the 25th Brigade. The Syseslavtsi are leaders in the use of ground robotic systems and aerial vehicles. Even foreigners come to the brigade to learn how to use drones. There are many of them among the engineers and operators. Here, personnel are valued, so all combat operations are carried out exclusively in combination with technology. High-quality aerial reconnaissance, remote mining, preparation of assaults with artillery and FPV drones.
President Donald Trump is frustrated by both Russia and Ukraine ahead of separate calls Monday with Russian President Vladimir Putin and Ukraine's Volodymyr Zelensky. He's grown weary and frustrated with both sides of the conflict, White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt told reporters Monday morning. He has made it clear to both sides that he wants to see a peaceful resolution and ceasefire as soon as possible. According to Associated Press, Trump's call with Putin is set to take place around 10 a.m. to be followed by his conversation with Zelensky. Trump is hoping that the separate phone will make progress toward a ceasefire in the war in Ukraine. Trump expressed his hopes for a productive day, Monday, and a ceasefire, in a social media post over the weekend. His effort will also include calls to NATO leaders.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you for joining us early today. We have a very busy day.
As of today, we are still funding both Israel's and Ukraine's wars. So can Americans expect to finally be done financing foreign wars at some point? Do you consider that one of the president's goals?
As you all know, the president will be speaking with Putin at 10 o'clock. He plans to call President Zelensky when that call concludes. I spoke to the president about that call at 10 o'clock. I don't want to get ahead of those very important conversations, but of course you will hear directly from the president or me after those calls conclude today, so you can expect that. As for Israel and Gaza, the president continues to not only himself but his national security team engage in talks on both sides of this conflict. The president made it very clear to Hamas that he wanted to see all hostages released. And last week, when we were flying out of town, there was great news on that front with the return of Eden Alexander, who is the last remaining hostage in Gaza. So to answer your question, the president is always thinking about the American people, the American taxpayer first. He wants these conflicts to end, not just to save money, but most importantly, to save lives. When the One Big Beautiful Bill passes, we will replace the current antiquated system. The FAA will enhance safety in our skies, reduce delays, empower the future of air travel in the United States.
Is the goal to get Putin to agree to a ceasefire? Is the goal to lead to some sort of in-person negotiations with Putin and the president?
Well, I think, again, we'll see how the call goes, and the president has made it clear his goal is to see a ceasefire and to see this conflict come to an end. And he's grown weary and frustrated with both sides of the conflict. The president and his team have put an enormous amount of effort in solving this very complicated war that, again, began because of the last administration's weakness.
Does he still want to meet Putin personally?
I think the president would certainly be open to that, but let's see how this call goes today.
What's the status of the secondary sanctions package? The president's been talking about that. You haven't imposed them yet, but is that still on the table?
I think everything's on the table, yes, and again, I won't get ahead of the president and any commitments or decisions, but certainly it's something he's been looking at and discussing. The president and his team have put an enormous amount of effort in solving this very complicated war that, again, began because of the last administration's weakness.
Does he still want to meet Putin personally?
I think the president would certainly be open to that. But